Mafer,
Hola,
¿cómo estás?
bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, también, gracias.
Ay, aquí también puedes poner fondos. Déjame ver cómo se pone.
Mira, te voy a hacer co-host por cualquier cosa, ¿ves?
No, no te
No,
editar
es
los
solo
sentidos.
por...
Ok.
¿Vas a compartir pantalla tú o Marco?
Yo voy a compartir pantalla.
Entonces mejor si te hago co-host.
Va. ¿Cómo se hace? No puedo cambiar fondo, no. Alto.
Muy buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a el Masterclass con Marco Frascarolo de Asociación Guatemalteca de Iluminación. Sean todos bienvenidos. Hoy tenemos, la verdad, un gusto de tener a Marco y a María Fernanda Pellecer con nosotros. Como les comentamos en la información de la charla, esta va a ser en inglés. Y pues vamos a ir haciendo ciertas pausas para que nos envíen sus dudas vía el chat. Vamos a estar ahí pendientes para responder las preguntas que vayan surgiendo. Así que les pedimos a todos que por favor mantengan sus micrófonos en silencio para que podamos disfrutar este masterclass lo más que podamos. Marco, welcome to Guatemala. Online only, also Mafer, welcome to our masterclass today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. And we are ready to start. You're very welcome here. And I'm sure we're going to most out of it. So we have a lot of students, a lot of professionals right now joining our masterclass. So the screen is yours, and thank you very much for joining us.
Ok. Buenas tardes a todos y después en inglés, no te preocupes, termino el mío terrible español. Good evening, everybody. When I speak a little bit of Spanish, I immediately forget English. Because Spanish, as you know, it's closer to Italian, and so it let me feel at home when I speak Spanish or when I heard Spanish. But my vocabulary in Spanish is not enough to do everything, and so I will speak in English. And really very happy to be here. It seems a standard phrase that everyone say, but in this case I have many things that let me feel like that. First of all, it's because in Italy, I present myself. I am lighting designer, and I am involved in two universities in Rome that work together to do our best in lighting design field. I means that we decided to not to be competitor, but to work together. And one of these university is University of Sapienza. That is very. Please, Fernanda, go to the second. Okay, University of Sapienza. You can see here MLD, that it means Master in Lighting Design. It's the most ancient university in Rome, and it has the faculty of architecture. And in this faculty of architecture, there is this Master in Lighting Design. That is one of the two schools, one in Rome and one in Milan, that represent the official public master in lighting design in Italy. And at the same time, I have some classes, and I am the director of a laboratory in Roma Tre University, that is a younger university than Sapienza, and more or less it's 25 years old, something like that. And we used to work together at this university in classes, master, and some also not professional, I mean applied research, project design, and so on. And our very strong relationship with Guatemala is because in the very first years of the master, that were more or less 20 years ago, we have had many people from Guatemala coming to study in our master. One of them is Maria Fernanda Pellese, which is here with me. Unfortunately, not with me because of the COVID, but with me from Italy.
Rome.
Rome, and also Maria Fernanda Barrios, someone of you for sure you know her. We have had this experience together in Rome, and I don't know if there is Eli Porres at the moment, that is from one of your associate, and so on. And so we have some years in which we have the opportunity to work a lot with some of you, and it has been very very interesting and very successful, because of course our language of course are close, also our approach, our mentality, and so it's something that is okay, different, because we came from a different country, but at the same time with many points on common. And so in fact Maria Fernanda Pellecer, that will speak in the second part of the talk, we are working together. We have been working together for I don't know, 15 years, something.
15 years, yes.
Something like that. And so this in this slide you see our system concerning lighting design, involved in lighting design, that are these two universities, Roma Tre and Sapienza. And then there is AIDI, the Association of Lighting Design in Italy, such as your association. And with this association, we organize some conference, more or less the same thing that you are used to. And then Faber Tecnica is my own company, that at the moment we are in this moment we are between 15 to 20 people. This is more or less the trend. And we used to work in the field of lighting design, many different applications. For sure, considering we are in Rome, our application on cultural heritage are the stronger and the most perhaps interesting. And so the project that we are going to speak about are in this field, so in cultural heritage in Rome and in Italy. And so we will speak about our project about Sistine Chapel, the new LED lighting system of Sistine Chapel. We will speak also about Basilica of San Francesco d'Assisi project. And then we will speak about Colosseum. In this case, it's not a project arriving to the realization, to the final step, but it's something like a guideline to begin to work about this very rich subject, and very inspiring for storytelling, of course. And then we will close with a work that is not about one specific project, but is more an approach to the city, how to program the different activity in lighting design in a city, beginning from the more strategic, more critical, and so on. And we will speak at the end. So every of these projects are very important, not just for the importance of the building, of the environment, but also because I think they represent. We select that also because they represent a different methodology, different work design methodology. Why different? Because of course are different the object that we have to light, but it were very different also the client, no? And so you know that every project, I think, has to be, for us it's very important that every project has to be different. Has to be, we use an expression in Latin, I don't know if you never heard it, that is the genius loci, that is in ancient Latin language, and means the genius loci means the soul of the place. So we really would like to express with the light the soul of the place we are lighting. So not to have I don't know, like a copy paste, no, that you used to work in with some style and then we always do the same. No, we try to inspire a lot ourselves. Hi, Maria Isabel. So
Hi, good to see you.
we really like to change, not completely, because of course there is something of us in all the project, but we really like to find everything different in every project. Then we like that, but also the client asks for that. And so, for example, I want to highlight the similar things and also the different things in these two projects that are not so far, because it's Sistine Chapel and Basilica of Assisi. It's a perfect couple. I mean, why is a perfect couple? Because these two places represent the maximum expression of the painting of one period in Italy. And so Basilica of Assisi represent the Middle Age period with the painting of Giotto and all the school of Giotto, Cimabue, and so on. And Sistine Chapel represent in the best of the very best of the painter in the period of Renaissance, so in 15th and 16th century. So these two places are represent a place that is a concentration of very important masterpiece of art of that period. So in this, how we, which was the approach of this project? Sistine Chapel, it has been a very peculiar methodology and team and so on, because it has been considered perhaps the most important lighting project of that period, also for a kind of worldwide resonance, worldwide communication, and also because it was very also very long-term project. We have had 4 years to study and to project, to design, and to realize the system. And the group has been very wide, because Osram, the very well-known factory brand, has been the promoter or the sorry, the coordinator. Osram has been the coordinator of this project that was presented and supported by European Union. Then there was University of Pannonia, that is Hungary, that was involved in a study on color, pigment, and so the relationship between the LED spectrum and the color characteristic of pigments of the frescoes. Then Catalonia Institute for Energy Research from Spain represent the group in charge of energy saving, energy optimization. And then my studio, Faber Tecnica, that was represent Italia, of course, in these 4 different countries, and we represent the lighting design in sense that we decide in group with the other, of course, but we were involved in design the optics, the quantity, the distribution of light in the environment, and so on. So more, we can say we were more involved in the geometrical and distribution aspects of light, and Pannonia University were more involved in color and spectrum and so on. This is more or less the different roles and the different tasks. In this project, as also in this, but also in all the project, there has been a very strong participation of our student, of our master in lighting design. In this 4 year, more or less 20 people coming from Master of Lighting Design were involved in a part of this project, and I'm very glad and it's very important for me to tell that, because this can be also an opportunity also for you in the future, and you will have all the information that you need, because we are organizing now in the period of COVID, where everything is more online, more organized in that way. We built some opportunity and some possibility to participate to our master, or in the total in the 12 weeks of single educational program, or in a single one. So all the things that you are we are speaking about, I would like that you will, of course, you will listen, thinking about the project, but also about the network that we can also build together to do something together in the future. I think it's very important, because I want that you feel to be the potential player of these things that we are speaking about, not just observer or people who look from far to this experience. So the Sistine Chapel, everyone of course knows Sistine Chapel. The very important thing is to understand in this place that it's very iconic. So when you enter here, you really are very afraid not to do the best job for this. But as I told you before, the best job it's not only an objective task, but it's also something connected with your client. So let's go to see who was our client. Fernanda, the volume.
Wait.
Sorry, there was also the sound that was a music, and also the very short speech of the director of the Sistine Chapel. Non ti parte?
No, è già finito.
No, ma non c'era il volume. There was not the sound. C'era?
Sì, sì. Io lo sento.
Tu sì, ma io no.
Ah.
Are you listening at the sound from
No.
Guatemala or not?
No, we're not only looking at the video.
Oh.
Okay, it's not so important because you can read when there will be the director of Vatican Museum, you will see the subtitle in English. We lose a little bit of emotion, but we can you can read on the subtitles. Okay, so the most important thing that Antonio Paolucci told is that Sistine Chapel is not just the icon of Sistine Chapel. No, everyone in the world knows the finger of the frescoes, and that's all. Sistine Chapel is many things, because there is, of course, Michelangelo, that is the most iconic play here inside, but there is also Raffaello, Ghirlandaio, many other very important painter of this period. And then it's also a very important place for conclave, in which we elect the Pope, and there are many other occasions like chorus or battesimo, come si dice? Battesimo?
Bauttiso.
Okay. So there are many activities inside. So the thing is that why it's important to tell that? Because Sistine Chapel is not a museum. It's not just a place where you go to see the fresco, but it's a place where many things happen, and you have to provide the perfect light for every of these different moments. And if you can now go a little bit behind to see the image of Sistine Chapel, please. Okay, so Sistine Chapel is so rich of everything, frescoes everywhere, architecture, marbles, and so on. So what does it mean for us who have to provide lighting? This means that we don't have to highlight something, but we have to provide a very diffuse and a very very regular light everywhere, in order to be neutral, not to go there and to put our signature on the project. No, we have to go there to do a good light, perfect for everything, but very in English we can say we have to be understated, no, not to very humble, to go there to do our job and to go out. No, without storytelling, without enhancing something, and so on. And so it was Professor Paolucci asked us to do that. So our goal is to have a very, very regular light to hide the luminaire, and it was also very important, and to have the best spectrum for the frescoes. And so how we work on it. Let's see a little bit, sorry, Fernanda, let's show the first, another time, the first video, and please stop the video where there are the windows with the luminaire out of the windows. Because another very important thing when we project light is also to study very well which was the light before us. And so we try to understand. I could stop here. Oh, no, before, a little bit before. Okay. Now, okay, we use the video also because it's very difficult to have the authorization in Vatican for pictures and so on. And so this video is the official video made by Vaticano, Osram, and every one of us. And so it's free from copyright and other things. And so for that, we use this video to represent and to explain everything. Why it's important to see this picture? Because when you do a project, the thing is the genius loci that we say, so the soul of the place. is the briefing with the client and with the historical of art in this case, and also is to understand which are the how do you say, which are the come si dice, un po' i limiti, i paletti,
The limits.
the limits, which are the some limits that you have in order that you can't do that, you can do that, and so on. And so let's see how was the luminaire before. There were these luminaire out of the windows, as you see in this frame, and the luminaire out of the windows. What does it mean? Means that not to see the luminaire when the windows are closed, of course. It's important that the windows is very diffusive, and so like an opaline surface. And so, as you can see here on the exterior of the windows, these windows were formed by the historical artistic glass, and then this opaline plastic put on the glass in order to have a more diffusive behavior of these windows. In that way, from the interior of the Sistine Chapel, you don't see the focusing, the presence of the luminaires, but you see just a very diffusive light on the windows. This is cool for the effect of not understanding where is arriving the light and so on. But as you can understand, there is a big problem. The problem is that if you put a diffusive surface like this in front of the luminaire, you completely lose the optic. And so you can't decide in which part of the Sistine Chapel you need more light, less light, and so on. And the light enter in a very isotropic way. So it goes in every direction. So this means that there are some surfaces that are very close to the windows that will be very lighted, very well lighted, and other surfaces that are in other position that are not lighting at all. And that's happened on the, if we remember that in the Sistine Chapel, under the windows, there are a strip of old painting named Quattrocentisti. Quattrocentisti means that are all the painter from the Quattrocento, so of that period, so a little before than respect Michelangelo, that was in between that century and the other one.
1400, 1500, sí.
Okay. And so when with the old lighting system, all the vault of the Michelangelo and so on were had a good lighting, but everything that was under the window were completely dark. And so this is completely the contrary of what the Professor Paolucci asked us, because he wants that everything has the same level of attention. And so we have to think about a completely different kind of light that can do that. So that can extend also in the lower part and then create a unique object, a unique volume, not different part. And this was our main goal of our job, especially our that we were involved in geometrical aspects, as I told you. So let's start the second small short video. So you see that they were demounting the old fixture. Stop here, please.
Wait.
Okay, and so in the thing I tell on this video is that the very important thing, the issue of this project was to project some to design some luminaire that has to be very, okay, ferma qui, that has to be very, very small in order not to be visible. And so in this condition, we were able to take the old fixture out of the windows and to take the fixture inside the windows. So means that finally we could have a real optics and we can really decide where we have to send the light, where we need more light, less light, and so on. And so the ideal distribution of light was the one you see in this section. You see there is the luminaire on the balcony, and this luminaire light the vault, of course, but also the quattrocentisti. This seems very, very normal things, but psychological, considering the way in which people perceive the environment and elaborate the information, no, of what people see. There is something that it has been very peculiar, and it was that when people, because I went very, very often to visit Sistine Chapel with group of lighting designer, architects, clients, professor, and so on. And when you are here and people enter and look at the result, for everyone it's very, very clear and very normal that the vault is lighted. But the thing that it's something strange is that you don't see the light, the luminaire, but you see a very strong effect on the quattrocentisti under the windows. And why it's strange for a perception? Because usually we are, for us, it's very clear that if a ceiling is lighted, it's because there is something that provide indirect lighting. But if something provide lighting on the vertical quattrocentisti, it's not so clear for everyone that you have a luminaire that reach directly this surface, but you can see that because your eyes are lower of this beam, this light beam. So you see very, very bright on the wall. You don't see the luminaire, and many people really didn't understand how it was possible. It was very, very, very simple. It was just because these optics open a little bit more in the lower part of Sistine Chapel, but stopping before arriving the light on the eyes of the people. So the people don't see the light, don't see the light arriving, don't see the luminaire, but just the effect on the quattrocentisti. So this luminaire that you see here on this slide has this shape because they were putted on the cornice in the place that they were empty from other things like air conditioning and so on. And so we occupy all the space we can, and we were very careful to design a luminaire that was so shaped in a way that the cornice hide it from every position of the Sistine Chapel. So at the end, this luminaire, if you go in Sistine Chapel, you can see from any position. Of course, if you are on the floor, if you go up like us when we were on the platform, of course you see, but from the floor it's impossible to see. Then we did a lot of different tests in a part of Sistine Chapel in order to arrive to also results in which this passage from the quattrocentisti with light and the other part under the quattrocentisti without light, this there has to be a fading, something very soft, not like a slide, no, that is on the wall and then completely dark. We did some attempts, different attempts also with Osram and so on, in order to have a very, very smooth gradients of light from the higher part to the lower part. Okay, let's go. And then we have a second system for lighting. That was the one that on the section you see the light is directed toward the floor, and it was Gala lighting. What is Gala lighting? It's not just more light, but a different light. So a light dedicated to the part of the volumes in which there are people who are there for conclave, for chorus, for other things. And so considering that these other activities, different from the artistic interest for frescoes, these other activities cover something like 5% of the time. And so for that, we think that the best way to do this was with a motorized luminaire, because in this way we can move this when we need, and we can hide this when we don't need. So this was the only dynamic aspects that was allowed by Vatican experts, because they really didn't want to have possibility to change, to do anything, because they were very afraid that everyone could change, and so there would have not been a precise setting of the light. So we have just one scenarios of normal visit lighting and the second scenarios of Gala lighting, and that's all. Vai avanti, let's go. Okay, but this is another very short video with focus on the luminaire, because this is the part described by Osram that was involved in that, in developing the technological system, of course. So you can see the luminaire, the components, for heat. Come si dice, for heat dissipation, for and so on. Here in the last frame you saw the position of the luminaire, and here the position and the role of the okay, so we were on the balcony with this luminaire, and you can easily understand that now this shape can control perfectly the line of that divide what we can see and what we can't see, no? And so from every point of the Sistine Chapel, you don't see anything of this. Let's go. And the Gala luminaire, the main system had some system multi-LED. We had a multi-LED system. I mean with a white LED and one blue, red, and green, just to adjust a little bit the white. This is our friend Andrea, that used to work in my office before, and in the last part of the project in the Osram office.
Sí.
Okay, and so let's go, because we have many things to. Okay, this was the other aspects, not the geometrical and the optics and so on. That is our task. But no, Fernando, torna. Okay, but this was the other issue, that was to reach the best spectra for the frescoes. And so we prepare like a chef, no, in the kitchen. We prepare many different dishes that were many different settings of this multi-LED system, And then we show this setting to Professor Paolucci and his team, and so he could say, okay, this for me is the best one. And so he decided not for instrumental specs and so on, but with its own experience. This kind of method, it's good from one end because it's not so cold like a machine, but it has also some criticity, because of course the visual task, the visual capability of a person doesn't represent the capability of all the human being. And also in this occasion, also considering that the professor was not very young, and so of course can have also some small, diciamo, not come dire, difetti.
Puede tener, sí, defectos, algunos defectos, porque
Algunos
depende de la
defectos,
edad, ¿verdad?
¿no? de vista. Y entonces, vabbè, vado in spagnolo. Okay, and so we use a mixed method. So Professor Paolucci tell this is the best. We understood with the instruments that that best was not the real best for example, chromatic render index that was not so high. And so the second step of our work, but I mean more the works of professor from Hungary, he prepared another spectra very similar to the first one, but with a higher rating in instrumental evaluation. And so at the end, we put these two methods together and we arrived to the best spectra for the two methods together. So for instrumental and human decision. And the final spectrum was that one on the left height of the slide. And as you can see, it's very flat, but with a point of red, with a point, sorry, with a
el pico en rojo.
El pico de rojo. Perché because porque ci gusta muchísimo la lumière caliente, no? Entonces, and then with this red, the light was more comfortable, more human. But notice that also the blue is not so weak, because there are a lot of blue sky and so on, and so a blue such as the blue in halogen lamps could be too weak for that. And so at the end, this spectra correspond to 3,500 Kelvin, more or less. So it's like a halogen with something more on blue. Okay, let's go. And this is something about conservation that is another issue. You know that, perhaps I think that many of you knows that the risk for conservation is proportional to the quantity of light, but also to the time of exposition. And so we create in a machine the pigments of the real frescoes, and we put inside this box a quantity of light 100 bigger than the normal one. So the level of Sistine Chapel at the end was more or less 70-80 lux, and we put 7,000-8,000 lux for 1 year. That corresponds more or less to 100 years of the normal level of lighting. So after 1 year, the result was that, vai Fernando, intanto. After 1 year, the result has been that the pigment were has been hidden by a quantity of energy equal at 100 years of normal exposition. And so we did the test with the spectrophotoradiometro, and with this we see that no color changed, and so it means that Vatican Museum director could be confident about the not invasivity of the light. Okay, in that occasion there were 400 journalists from all over the world. It has been very, very exciting. So Sistine Chapel is
Done.
Is done. So if you have some question before you forget all this information, please do it. Okay, no question because we are so shy, everyone.
Okay.
Okay, if you think about some question later, of course it's okay. In Basilica of San Francesco d'Assisi, I will speak not so long like Sistine Chapel because we don't have time. I want just to highlight the difference between the two projects, because I think it's important not to say, okay, this project is beautiful and so on, but it's important to try to transmit a methodology. No, in the first case, the methodology has been to work in a very, very smooth way, to hide the technology, not to see anything, and to work a lot on the spectra. In this second project that is more or less has been developed at the same time of Sistine Chapel, and they are connected because the rumor about the Sistine Chapel let us have this second how do you call incarico? Come si chiama? This second professional request. And in this case, of course, we also in this case we analyze the old system, and the old system and were in the higher basilica, because Basilica of Assisi is formed by two basilica and a crypta. So we have 3 levels of churches on the same building. And as it happens in this case, because these buildings are of different period, historical period, and the crypta at the end is of course the place in which there are the body or part of the body of San Francisco. The lower basilica is the basilica a little bit more mystic, where it's more connected with people who pray and so on, and the higher is more connected with art,
visit like a museum,
and music, also music concerts. Every beginning of the year or Christmas time, there is a very important concert on the TV, on the national TV also, and so on. And another very peculiar aspect of this basilica is that, unfortunately, at the end of the 20th centuries, there has been a very important earthquake, and so you can say this part in which there is not anymore the fresco, and because it's this part of the church fall down. And they rebuild after, and they rebuild also every single small piece of frescoes, and the historical art and the restorator could arrive to the results that you see now. The important thing about this project is that the client, in this case, asked us to maintain the same aspect of the old lighting system. So in Sistine Chapel, we had to hide. In this case, we had to show, but with the style that has to be very classical style. So we have to substitute, we have to build a new design and build a new luminaire, a new chandelier, with similar to the old one, but with inside many more technology, more optics, more supplier and so on. So the project, these were the chandelier that we re-engineerizing. So we put the technology and we everything in order to build a new one. And so let's go further. Okay, and so in this case, the idea was to use this luminaire. From this luminaire to light the Giotto cycle of painting in the lower part of the basilica, and to use the cornice to put the linear fixture in order to light the higher part of basilica. So in this case, we have two systems that work together. In Sistine Chapel, there was just one, two considering the Gala system, but it's special. For normal configuration, we have just one kind of luminaire that provide to everywhere, for everything. In this case, we have two kind of system to do the downlighting and uplighting. Okay, let's go. Let's go. It was very important, for example, in this case, to have a very stable and strong system, because when they do this this concert, the Italian television arrive there, go after, put their luminaire and so on, and destroy everything. And so we choose a very strong and very well fixed luminaire. This was not the final installation, but a mock-up in which there are also the old luminaire, the round one, and we tested this bar for indirect lighting. This picture is very important because in this picture we are at the beginning of the aiming of the luminaire, in which you can see the this effect too strong on the material. No, in this case you see more the irregularity of the wall rather than the frescoes. And so this was a very important part of the project, of the concept of the project, because we decide that we have to add this kind of lighting, but aimed in a particular way, in which this kind of materiality of the wall has to be very clear, because it's also something that is a storytelling also about the earthquake, that it's important thing for this. And so we didn't want this kind of light that highlight too much this, but we didn't want also a front light that at the end could create an effect of flat, not material, but just color. And so our concept was to stay in between these two situations. And so the linear fixture that you told has been aimed at I don't know, more or less 30-35 degrees from the vertical, in order to have the effect that you will see in the. If you see here, you see that the light on the cornice help to see the depth, to see the material and so on, but you really don't you don't see the luminaire, and at the same time you don't see also a strong flame of light. You see a flame of light in okay, let's go. We don't have enough time. This was a part of the job. A part of the job in which we did some measure of, you know, that for conservation issues, aspects, you have to demonstrate that you don't go over a certain level of lighting. No, in Sistine Chapel, we spoke about 70, 80 lux. That is more or less an half of the limits of the rules. But we decide this lower for two reasons. Because in Sistine Chapel, you didn't see the Lumiere, and so you have not glare effect and so on. And so also with not very high light level, at the end you were able to, so the impression was a very high level, no? Because if you have a luminaire and if you have the surface, you compare the quantity of light of the luminaire, the quantity of light of the surface, and the surface seems to be dark. If you don't see the fixture and the light that go out from the fixture, everything seems to be more lighted, no? Because the
contrast.
the eyes don't defend themselves, they open and they see more. Okay, and so in this condition, 70 or 80 lux was the best. We try also here and also in the Basilica of Assisi. Everyone on the same line to fix on this level. On the lower basilica that you see here, the situation was a little bit different because the luminaire were not so high, but a little bit down. And so, as you say in this section, there was, and we don't have the cornice. So in this case, the luminaire, the chandelier is the only system that has to provide light for everything. And no, let's stay in that. It's very important, these two sections down. Why are important? Because the first section show how it works, the luminaire before our project. The luminaire provide the light, the downlight and up light, two systems. And in this way, as you can see in this section, the vertical part of the wall and the frescoes were very weak. There were light on the floor and light on the ceiling, but very few light on the wall. In our system, using the dimension of LEDs that are, of course, smaller, we could join a third level of lighting. So we have some light dedicated to floor and to chairs and so on, some light dedicated to the vault, and some light dedicated just to the wall. Vai avanti, quindi avanti. Okay, so you see that fixture that has some stripes. These stripes, it's a very peculiar lens that we developed together with Ledil company, a Finnish company of lens, of optics, and we developed these optics with them in order to have a little effect of elliptic, not conic, but elliptic beam. Why it's so important to have the elliptic? Go on. Vai. Vai. Ok, vai ancora avanti. Okay, because with the shape of the ellipse, it's more precise. It's easier to put the light precisely on the frescoes and not going on the void. Because if you go with light on the void, you don't control the effect of light and you create glare for people who are in the other chapels. If you use the ellipse and you round a little bit the fixture, it's easier to do something very precise on the architecture, on the frescoes. And this was the most innovative aspect of this project. And there is, sorry, torno un attimo indietro. Here there is a detail that also is important. Look that that the luminaire are not at the same level of the box, but they are inside. Because in this case, the first perception that you have of the solid is not to see a very technological and modern thing, because the same impression is just iron and not optics and so on. And then when you, of course, when you go there and you see that inside there is lamp, but the first impression is more a pure material and not a technological system. Of course, you lose a little bit of light that you lose inside, but we did many mock-up and test, and we found the best position in order to have a compromise between not lose too much light, but to have this kind of effect. Andiamo avanti. Vabbè, andiamo avanti. Vabbè, this was very simple because there were before some very small incandescent light, you know, the xenon light, like Akabekov, that was a brand leader in this field before LED. We use a lot of these lamps, and we substitute this with LED for two reasons. One for energy consumption and maintenance, and another one that you can see here is that vai avanti. No, vai indietro, scusa, a vedere il vecchio. Okay, the old system, as you can see, it was too yellowish, and the stone of Assisi that is pink seems to be orange, like tufo. And with the kind of LED that we choose, vai avanti, it was warm light, but the chromatic the color temperature and chromatic index, it was more balanced to give the right impression of the material. Okay.
Okay, aquí terminamos estos dos.
Okay, so also we finish also Basilica of Assisi. Do we have any question? Okay, let's go to our. Okay, there is one question from Maria Isabel, perhaps, or not?
No sé. No creo. Ok. Vamos.
Ok, new light for Colosseum. Allora, okay, Fernanda, do you want to begin, and then we share the stage?
Ok. Bueno, voy a hablar en español. Así es un poquito más fácil para todos. La iluminación del Coliseo fueron, aquí se crearon unas líneas, guías para la nueva iluminación, siempre junto con el máster de Lighting Design de la Sapienza, y con todas las entidades públicas del Museo del Coliseo. Con la superintendencia, que sería tipo el Ministerio de Cultura de Roma, se hicieron todos estos estudios y se le propuso al máster de hacer todo este estudio. Este proyecto se dividió en dos fases, una que es de análisis y la otra es de hacer unas propuestas de iluminación. Se dividió en dos temas, la parte interna y la parte externa. Lo importante decir es que en este proyecto, como solo son de líneas guías y es mucho de análisis y todo lo que es el método para proyectar, fue fundamental la participación de muchos estudiantes del máster en Lighting Design junto con los profesores, porque aquí participaron Floriana Canatelli, el profesor Terzi, el ex director del máster, y obviamente Marco Frascarolo. Pero la ayuda y todo lo que aportaron todos los estudiantes fue fundamental para poder hacer un buen estudio. Aquí, bueno, aquí es lo que les estaba explicando, quiénes fueron los que participaron. Aquí también participó un ingeniero eléctrico, Luigi Martirano. Marco, lui sempre di La Sapienza, giusto?
Sì.
Aquí tuve la suerte de poder participar en este proyecto. Yo me dediqué más que todo en la parte externa, lo que sería la iluminación externa del Coliseo, junto con otras, todas estas personas, Elisa Forlani, Gilda Magni, Susana Verde, son siempre ex estudiantes del máster, ellos tienen el máster en Lighting Design. Aquí participaron también, también otros ingenieros y una empresa de iluminación, Technical Support. Bueno, como les decía, este es un proyecto de análisis y son líneas guías. ¿Por qué? Porque acá se propone cómo sería la mejor iluminación para poder después salir tipo un proyecto de licitación. Porque el Coliseo es un edificio tan importante que es mundial, tiene que salir, se genera un concurso, pero no querían que llegaran ideas no coherentes a cómo se podría hacer la lectura del monumento. Entonces, por eso fue que contactaron a las universidades y al máster para poder decir, ok, si esto va a salir en un concurso, dar las líneas, las pautas a seguir para que se pudiera existir un buen proyecto alineado con lo que es la historia. Como decía Marco en los otros proyectos, la importancia de poder con la luz enseñar el alma del monumento. Y entonces, para poder hacer esto, se hizo mucha investigación de qué era en realidad el Coliseo, que es un anfiteatro, y entonces se estudió la historia, todos los puntos de vista, lo que era la morfología, todos los sistemas, y obviamente muy importante los materiales. Aquí podemos ver, bueno, el Coliseo donde...
Fernanda,
Marco, sí.
una cosa. Por evidenciar la diferencia metodológica entre los proyectos, in Cappella Sistina, I told you that we don't have to do storytelling, just represent what the Cappella Sistina is. Colosseum is completely different because you know that Colosseum is very famous all over the world, not for architectural and so on, but for the history about Colosseum, the slaves, the lions, and so on, and the senators, the
gladiators, everything.
Gladiators, and so on. So in this project, we propose to do lighting, of course, but a kind of light that can really tell stories. So dynamic light that change and help you to understand many things, whether there can be a voice that tells something while the light do something else, and so on. So it's quindi Sistine Chapel is to be the most everything has to be the lumiere, and everything we have to be all hidden. Assisi is in between because we show the technology, the light, but we have to maintain a classical style. Colosseum has been the project in which you can put more fantasy, more idea of dynamic lighting, control systems, and so on. And this is very interesting because this project has begun for us a masterpiece to create a methodology that now we are using on many other projects in Rome, and also some projects that we propose in St. Petersburg, in Taiwan, and so on. As a method of study and to pass from study to design idea, for us this is very, very important. Bye.
Bueno, en estos slides que pasé antes, es para enseñarles cómo fue este estudio, este análisis que se hizo para ver la metodología, lo que es todo lo que son las partes del Coliseo, los materiales, todos los elementos. Aquí este slide es importante porque se puede decir cómo se podría leer el monumento. Una lectura vertical, una lectura horizontal, una lectura a nivel de píxeles, de elementos vacíos y llenos, o una lectura de una superficie total. Entonces, estas podrían ser las interpretaciones de cómo se podría leer. Después en la propuesta se analizará para ver cuál sería la mejor solución. Estos fueron se empezó a estudiar cómo podría ser una lectura vertical, si hubieran iluminado solo los elementos verticales, solo la parte horizontal, los 3 niveles de los anillos, solo todo lo que sería la parte del vacío, o cómo sería toda una superficie llena. Entonces, toda esta fase es todavía la fase de estudio. Aquí otra vez se pasa a ver todo lo que sería el análisis de la recepción, de cómo se lee el monumento, cómo se podría ver, ¿verdad?
Aspetta, Fernanda, ritorni un attimo, ecco, a quella prima. Quella prima.
Sí, vai.
Okay. I think the important thing to highlight here is that you know that you notice that many times the kind of lighting of a building depends a lot from the way, the easiest way you have, no? For example, if you have a cornice, everyone put things on a cornice. If you have windows, you put in the windows, and so on, no? In this way, you don't you don't highlight the real architectural style, architectural main elements, and so on, because you just do the simplest thing. In this way, for example, we want to notice that, for example, if you put some spot in the lower part and you go vertical, because you can say, okay, Colosseum is very interesting because there are columns with different style, no? Dorico, Ionico, Corinthio, that change. And so you can do something like that, but something like that, you can understand that it is a very, very partial, it's a very, you are not representing the monument, you are just representing one aspect of the monument. Even if you use the horizontal element to put the luminaire, the Colosseum seems to be a cake, no? Like a wedding cake with all the part. If you light just the interior and the vacío, come diceva Fernanda, if you light just the interior, no, ritorna un attimo prima. If you light just the interior, the Colosseum is a very heavy building, no, very strong, and in this style you emphasize the la leggerezza, come si chiama, oddio, il contrario di heavy, light. You know, the building seems to be very light and not heavy, and it's not true. If you put a big fixture with large beam, you at the end you create something very flat, and it's not good. So at the end, what we want to say is that it's a good light very, very often is not just one system of light, but is a more layer that you put one on the other, and then you calibrate with the fine tuning, with the dimmer and so on, and you arrive to the harmony. In this case, for example, our conviction was that the best way is to use the third and the fourth expression to put together, and to change in a special way in order to highlight more the external part or more the internal part, depending on the ring of the Colosseum. What I mean that the Colosseum, you know, that there has been some parts fall down here, and so you can see that one part of the external part of the Colosseum there is not anymore, and so now you see an internal part thinking it's external, but it is not, because at the beginning there was another one. So we think to use light to help to understand this different part. No? If you are in the north or south of the Colosseum, in one part you see the real external Colosseum, in another part you see a part that now is external, but at the beginning was not external. And so we say, why don't use the light with some small difference in order to help to read more correctly all this historical changing of on the monument. And so we decide to work in this direction. Vai.
Sì. Vai tu con la parte interna, che purtroppo sto avendo un po' di tosse e non posso più parlare.
Ok, I have to help Fernanda.
Perdón, tengo un poco de tos, ahorita me está tratando
Okay.
de hablar.
So also the internal part of we study the internal part to understand which are the most important elements that compose the perception of the Colosseum. And of course, one of the things for us it is more important is that there is not the floor, and so the lack of floor determined this kind of this very interesting view where you see the structural wall of the Colosseum that at the beginning supported the horizontal surface. So we say, okay, it's very important to highlight that there is something, this very, very not flat, but very very geometrical, and very geometrical means speaking about light means light shadow, light shadow, light shadow, and so on. No, there is this rhythmic aspect of the Colosseum. And so, for example, this for us it has been very important to say, don't use something from outside, but work with small light inside in order to enhance this rhythm between the light and the shadow, for example. Or looking at the other drawing, we want to highlight that there are many, for example, obliquous signs that help to understand the original organization of the balcony. You know that one of the most important things of the Colosseum historically was the the perfect organization of the spaces, the perfect organization to let the people go in and out in few minutes, no? And in this organization of movements, the rich people didn't have to meet the poor one, the woman didn't have to meet the man, and so on. And so there was a very, very engineering precision of organizing the path and the flux of the people. And so also with this, okay, now everything is confused because of the fall down and so on. And so let's use the light to enhance where there is one section, another section, and so on. Vai avanti. Avanti. And then we analyzed all the single part of the Colosseum. For example, here it was the different kind of people occupying the different part of the building. here we can see many different key that we use to read the Colosseum. Here there is for example, here there are the new function, because we have not just to think about the function of the Roman age, but we have also to understand how today we use the Colosseum. So there are many needs about safety, security, about also single things, not just poetical or storytelling. We have also to resolve problem, not to fall down on the staircase and so on. Andiamo avanti. Andiamo avanti, andiamo avanti, andiamo. And then we develop some schedule to analyze the single part of the Colosseum, because the guideline means not that we have to put all the fixture and finish the project. We have to understand which are the elements that have to be highlighted more or less and so on, in order to give an indication to do a light design that is not just functional or just where it's easier, but a lighting design that really is useful to read the soul, the style and everything of the Colosseum. Andiamo avanti. Then we enjoy also to try some kind of different representation of light measurements. So in this case, we use a video photometer to capture the luminance, and this was very we really like to do that, because we work with some nerds that you know, the Arduinos the Arduinos tributes, no, the people that stay always on the Fab Lab inventing, programming and so on. And so with them we design this software. We have a camera on the head going walking around the Colosseum, and here we can read many. It's like a augmented reality, because you see what you see, but you see also the quantity of light, the color temperature, and so on. This was not important for the project for us, but it was important to communicate the project, that it's also important. So we, for example, we present this work, this job, this task that we develop in Maker Faire. Maker Faire is a very important fair of all people who develop Arduino system. Now, you know, Arduino system is the open source for domotic, mechatronic, electronic, and so on. And so we developed this system because we wanted to reach with this language also young people. No, if you go in a fiera, in a fair, and you use a very technical language, many people are not interested. If you do something that seems to be a video games or something like that, there are a lot of people who arrive, ask you many things. And so this was an experiment of communication of the project rather than on style of project. Okay, let's go. Let's go. And in this case, for example, we were highlighting the difference between the inside and outside, the distribution of different material is all part of the very long and rich analysis that we develop. By these kind of different optics that we can use. Okay, and this is very important, and then we can close also the Colosseum. Our idea of Colosseum is that it's a very extraordinary architectural masterpiece now, also for the fall down. If you imagine the Colosseum all completed, it could be the same of Arena di Verona, of many other arena all around in Italy, in France, and so on. The Colosseum is very peculiar and unique because a very important architect called Valadier arrived in more or less in the 15th century with the Grand Tour, where all people from France came in Italy to study architecture and learn many things. And he developed the project of the Sperone. Sperone is the structure, obliquous structure that is necessary to stop the fall down of the Colosseum. And this structure that he designed is so elegant, so peculiar, that now the main sign of the Colosseum, like the icon of Colosseum, is this obliquous line. If you see every logo of Rome, of things connected with Rome and so on, there is a Colosseum that is designed like that. This, and this. So it's very interesting that this structure, that to avoid the new that the Colosseum keep going to fall down, as begin in the modern age, the symbol of the Colosseum. So we wanted to find a way to highlight with light this. And so we decide, as you see in this image, we use this kind of lighting, that we use more projected lighting on the external part and more interior lighting on the other part. And so at the end, you can see that the depth of the different rings of Colosseum is very, very clear. If you could have used the same light for everything, the image of Colosseum could be very flat. And so we work on this, calibrating light from out and light from in, and with the idea that, for example, once a day or once an hour, this change can be done again, in order, because also if you put light in a different way but static, okay, at the beginning you know something, but then you forget everything. If you to do this storytelling of the Colosseum that was complete, then fall down and so on, we decided to propose that the light has to be used in dynamical way. And so, for example, at midnight or at 10 o'clock or so on, the Colosseum will switch off and then switch on with this progression, before the internal part, then the middle part, then the external part. And so this can really help the people to see the Colosseum like a multi-ring building. And so this is our idea, to use light in a creative way to tell some story. Avanti. Oh, and you can see here this effect. Look how the depth of the monument is so clear. And this is the external part of light, and then there is the internal part of light. And this is the final result. Imagine to arrive to this result, also changing in dynamical way. It could be a very marvelous show, no? Where people go to see this and to listen. For example, the guy that say, okay, that tell you something while you are looking to this show. Ok, andiamo avanti. Andiamo avanti. We did some test of light, considering direction of light and color of light, in order to give the guidelines how to work. Quindi not too flat and not too dramatic, but something in between was our suggestion. and also in the internal part of Colosseum, the idea was to do this show of dynamic light, also here connected with a guide, I mean, or a person guide, or an automatic system like with a smartphone and so on, that you see the show and someone tell you something, or there is a music or sound that accompany this and so on. Now, you can notice how it's possible to read very well the architectural body with this system. But we finished 1 hour and a half, and so I think that we perhaps the most spectacular things that we want to show you, we have done.
Did it.
And so if you have questions, of course, are welcome.
No sé, Marisa, no sé si tú querías decir algo. Io no oigo.
No.
Mafer, ci sono delle domande nel chat del Zoom, non so.
Ci sono in
Se lo puoi leggere, sì.
Scusate, sorry for that. Okay. That master is a master of science, the first question. Già una domanda difficile subito. L'hai vista?
Sì, sì,
Allora,
sì.
Allora, master in Italy, it's something that you can do, or there are two kinds of master. The master at the beginning, the master in Italy were something after the whole university. I mean, after 5 years of architecture, if you want to do something more specific, you did the master. In the other country, not Italy, the master is something different, because it's something that you do after a first part of university, then the second part is a master. In Italy, originally the master was after all the university. Then the rules in Europe changed in Italy in order to be the same like in the other part of Europe. And so now we have two kinds of master. One we call first level and one second level. First level means that you can do the master after 3 years of architecture or engineering or a story of arts and so on. And second level master, you have to finish 5 years program. In our case, our master at the beginning was a second level, but then when we understood that it could be more perhaps more open for a market and for a people to do a first level, in sense that also people coming from 3 years can attempt the master. We decided for that. I have to be honest, also because Milano, that is our competitor, did the same, and we want to be aligned on it. And of course, we in this way we have more people that can participate. Considering that if you do a master of first or second level, in all the case, in the two cases, you have to begin from zero. So the difference is not that if you are a second level, you start from a more advanced program, because at the end of a program, no one knows the basis. So when we were at second level and now first level, our program is really the same. Nothing changed from. It was just a formal aspect, but the program is almost the same. And the program is divided in two parts. We have 6 months. The first 6 months, it's general, so fundamental of lighting, perception, color, software, electrical plans, and so on. And the second semester is about different application. So one is about residential lighting, another one is about retail lighting, hospitality, museum, cities, monuments, shows, and so on. And the modules are concentrating 1 week per month. And this was because people who work, for example, who also have a business or work in a company, with a week, in a week every month, not everyone, but very often can organize themselves in order to work for 3 weeks and one to be concentrated in studying. This was why we decided a full immersion weeks and not something more come si dice, more distributed in more time. In this moment we are designing a new opportunity that is a master that could be in online, but not just online, because we are trying to start with this year with a mixed system. What I mean that, of course, if the COVID didn't allow us to meet each other, of course the master is completely online, because we can do differently. But if the situation will go in a better direction, the idea is to give the opportunity to do the master online or to do the master in on site. In the master online, if we do it with other people staying in other country, the idea is organize the week in the morning, that we have the difficulty of the come si chiama, fuso orario.
Por el cambio de horario.
Ok. Il jet lag, si chiama jet lag, no?
Sì.
When there is a jet lag, the idea is the theoretical lesson could be in the morning and be registered and and also with subtitle in Spanish, if we will have a group from Spanish or Brazil, we are speaking also with them and so on. And some section connected to that morning of lesson, some section of with me and some tutor like Fernanda and so on can be available to help out of that timetable, to help you for a program. Then the second part of the master, we would like to do it in the afternoon. In the afternoon, of course, we also with the jet lag, we can do it together. And this part can be is the workshop, so where you work in groups and we develop project and so on. The idea can be also a mixed idea, in the sense that one can do one semester online, and then if there is better situation can come in Italy. And the most interesting to come in Italy is not just for a lesson, but also because you can begin an internship in my studio or other studios of other teacher. And or the last chance could be also to do the master if it's difficult to stay abroad for a long time, to do the master all online, but to do the internship directly in our studios in Italy. Or so we are inventing a new something more flexible and more COVID style and not COVID, but I mean we always prefer to do the thing in looking each other in the same room, but and for that we are trying to design a system that is a mixed system, not to lose advantage of one kind of a lesson and not lose the advantage of the other kind. But about that, of course, if you need more information, we can exchange mail, material, or speak separately. Ok, questa era una. Poi
sì, chiedono riguardo qualcosa della Cappella Sistina.
dov'è? No, thank you for all the very kind things that you wrote. Vedo più quello più che domande. Tu vedi domande?
What method do you use to measure vertical illuminance, and how do you interpret it in knowing the uniformity cannot be considered in this type of lighting? I think he's talking about the Cappella Sistina.
Sì. My name is Walter Morocho, giusto? Walter Morocho from Ecuador. I have some question. What methods do you use to measure vertical luminance, and how do you interpret it, knowing that uniformity cannot be considered in this type of lighting? What do you mean, Walter? What do you mean the uniformity cannot be considered in this type of lighting?
Creo que no.
Mi ho risposto troppo tardi.
Sí, creo que sí, porque sí. Aquí dice otra, no sé, creo que es Marisabel.
Vabbè, comunque, regarding this question, there were some slide in which there were some student that was doing some measurement on vertical surface. In Sistine Chapel, you know that luminance measurement, it's easier because you use the video photometer, you put on the you use this, you do a picture, and then you have the luminance of everything. The illuminance is difficult because you have to go there with the instrumentation at I don't know 20 meters and so on, and for that we did this method that we use some we did some illuminance measurement in one day when we have the platform and we can do it. And you know that if you take the illuminance measurement and luminance measurement together, if you put in a formula, we can arrive to the perfect reflectance coefficient of a material. So when you have the coefficient reflection of a material, you can in the post-production transform the luminance in illuminance and vice versa. So we did 1 or 2 days of measurement everywhere. Then we didn't need anymore the platform that was very expensive and very invasive, and we transform all the measurement from luminance and illuminance using this data. I hope it's clear. Ok, poi chi c'è?
No, creo que solo felicidades. Solo una, creo que una. I think one question about.
C'è Maria Isabel che dice: What do you do when a monument you have to light as a big conservative when and lack structure where you can place the. Okay. Okay, you mean
sí, she's not there. She then says hello, goodbye, and go out.
Okay. Vabbè, comunque, when there is not the structure, of course, you have to consider the limits, and so you have to use what you can use. Sometimes if you use we can choose many different optics today that in the past. Using many optics, you can also do a good lighting, also if you can't choose the point where put the fixture. I mean that, for example, if you use very precise optics of 4 degrees, you can also use a very far point or pole or I don't know, or un tetto, come si chiama?
Healing,
You-
no, cover.
a cover. You using many different optics, you can find a point to install the fixture, also very far or very angle and so on. But at the end,
It depends.
in many situations you can do the best. You have to do what you
can do also what they let you do.
yes.
This is the big problem. What will let you do?
Yes, because sometimes you have problem not just because there are not point, also because the people don't allow you to use that point. For example, because a building is private and they don't want you to use the roof to put a light for a church in front and so on. And so sometimes the problem is more a diplomatic problem more than techniques, no? To have the permission to resolve many things like that.
Marco, hay otra pregunta. Riguardo al 400 ai periodi, no?
Sì.
Per la temperatura di colore. Se puoi rispiegare la parte della temperatura di colore
Sì.
su quei muri.
Allora, color temperature, for example, in Sistina or in Assisi,
No, in Sistina, sì.
in Sistina, vabbè, in general, we try to fix a color temperature that is the same for everything. There is some lighting designer that sometimes try to use different spectrum for different part of fresco and so on. But this is something I think is not correct, because is your interpretation is not the real soul of this fresco. It can be interesting for I think for an event that you do for 1 week, 1 day. In this case, you can play with many things and to change the perception. But in the other case, for me, the best thing is to be very neutral and use a very good spectrum. Very good, I means that has to be rich, of course. You know, there are many methods to measure, no? The CRI is one, but the CRI, you can also evaluate not a general CRI, but you can evaluate in single color. Or there are many other, there is the other parameters that is connected with the gamut. Insomma, in the field of color disciplines, there are today many methods to verify the quality of lighting. But as I told you, in the 16 methods, I think that the best thing is okay to use the instruments because they are objective, are not subjective, but also to use a lot the experience of the people, because sometimes something is beautiful not because there is a number, but because you see it and it gives you a positive emotion and so on. As in everything, the best thing is to be in between, because if you go too much on the emotion, it's also a way to not control anything, and every people can say that his lighting is more emotional than another one, and we don't have any objective parameters. And in the other hand, is too cold to evaluate just with number and not to see the thing. Some few days ago, I did a test, an interview for a brand called Bridge Lux. That is a brand specialized in COB, COB chip on board, no? The big group of LED. And this company sent me a box with many LED, many objects with different color, and they asked me to evaluate different spectra, and they asked me to evaluate these different spectra before and after having seen the sheet, come si chiamano? Come si chiamano i data sheet, no? Before I have to say, okay, I like, I don't like, and so on. Then I open an envelope and I read the data sheet of this spectrum, and they want to see from my side if my experience of color was influenced by the fact that I read the diagram and so on. And my answer was that the real experience of perception is so strong, then I was completely not influenced by the data sheet, because the data sheet is very useful when you don't see something. When you have the opportunity to see something, I think you forgot the data sheet and you go on your perception. So in the case of Sistina, as you see, the spectra is very balanced, but as I told also you before, it's balanced having also a blue, because there were a lot of portion of blue frescoes. And so this was the main issue, because we want to have blue for perception, but not a lot of blue for conservation, because you know, or if you don't know, I tell you that the light is very dangerous for conservation going to toward the UV. The UV is very dangerous. The light blue is dangerous. The light green is less dangerous. The light yellow is less dangerous, and the red is less. So the more is the blue, the most is the risk of degradation. So it always is a question of balance, no? Enough blue for a perception, but not enough for the degradation of the material.
Okay, creo que I think we answered to everything. You answered to everything.
Okay.
Come Afer.
Okay, and also
Marco, io avrei un'altra domanda. Per te come romano, che ha significato illuminare il Colosseo? In una parola, anche per me, también para María Fernanda, ¿qué significó para ti iluminar el Coliseo como extranjera? Gracias a los dos.
Grazie. Allora, unfortunately, we didn't light really, but just on the guideline. But for me, the beautiful, the best thing, it has been this freedom of work on the symbol of our city, but thinking also about communication, and not just lighting, but what it means and what the light can do to create a show, but a very elegant and philologically correct show.
Sí, para mí significó aprender a leer, o sea, como la importancia de cómo una buena iluminación te puede dar a entender lo que fue la historia de un monumento. Y todo este método que después de este proyecto seguimos aplicando a muchos proyectos de estos grandes monumentos históricos. Así que para mí fue muy bonito y aprendí mucho. Así que es este método, aprender cómo la luz ayuda a leer la historia del pasado. Por medio de la luz se puede leer y entender, porque no sé si lo dijimos o si se entendió que el Coliseo era un estadio. Entonces es toda una circulación vertical, no es como lo que se mira ahorita, porque obviamente no está entero, pero con la iluminación, lo que explicó Marco de los 3 niveles, se puede recrear y leerlo a lo que fue. Así sí lo mismo. Con la iluminación creamos el ambiente de lo que fue. Para mí fue eso, aprender la importancia de la iluminación.
Gracias, Mafer. Gracias, Marco. Thank you, Marco. It was a great pleasure having you here with us. I would like to thank you both for your time, for your effort, and for answering all the questions, comments, and more, and also for staying up late for us. Thank you very much. And we will gladly have you some other time. And obviously, when you come, when we're able to travel with more freedom than right now, you're very welcome in Guatemala. Thank you for joining us today. And gracias a todos por participar el día de hoy en nuestro masterclass. Agradecemos a Marco el haber estado con nosotros y a Mafer también. Así que gracias a todos y saben que son bienvenidos en la Asociación Guatemalteca de Iluminación. Síganos por favor en redes sociales y cualquier duda les dejo también el correo de la AGI en nuestro chat para que lo puedan ver, ¿verdad? Y que tengan todos muy buena noche. Thank you, Marco and Mafer. Have a great night. Bye.
Chao.
Gracias, adiós.
Chao.